Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Building Magic Polyglot Applications, where we're still early in our journey integrating Python with Magic. And I want to get straight into a couple of other configuration things that will make life easier for our future selves. Now, one of the reasons Python is so popular is because of the rich, expansive set of third-party libraries that are available that cover toolkits for just about everything. Sometimes the blessing of those dependencies can also be a curse and end up really biting us in the bahookie. So something we'll always do for the project we build is to create a virtual environment, to have a separate, discrete copy of the Python interpreter, its support files, the packages and libraries we use, and that makes it so much easier to avoid conflicts and dependency hell. Let's look at some of this. All right, let's open a terminal window and type Python to launch a Python shell, or REPL. REPL stands for Read, Evaluate, Print Loop. Now, we won't actually use this very often, if ever, but it doesn't hurt to know it's there. We can create variables on the fly, we can use string interpolation to print them. We can import libraries, functions from them, and use those without fuss. Now, the only reason I wanted to show you this shell was so I can demonstrate a great Easter egg. If you type import this, you'll be presented with a short set of guiding principles called the Zen of Python. You can study these at your leisure. Python is more than a coding language, it's a way of life and a state of mind, in the same way that magic is. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the Venn diagram of magic programmers and the intersection with programmers who will come to love Python is basically a circle. Let's create a directory to hold our projects. I'll create a folder called magic-polyglot under dev and change into that directory. Now, if I type code space dot, I can launch Visual Studio Code. Control backtick will open a terminal window, and now we want to create an environment. For that, we use the command python -m venv space env. And now we activate that environment by running activate.ps1, which is a PowerShell script under env/scripts. Now, if we were in a regular command prompt, we would execute activate.bat instead. Let's create some quick demos. I'll create an EP3 folder, and to get things started, a Python script named hello.py. Let's create a couple of print statements. Okay, good. Let's refactor that as a function with arguments. Okay, let's import the random integer function that we used previously in the Python shell example and create a loop that prints 5 random numbers. Okay, next step. Let's call a JSON API, and we'll use the Python requests library, which lets us handle HTTP requests. Now, we need to install the request library, and for that, we'll use pip, which is the Python package manager. Also, as part of this, pip will recommend that we upgrade the pip library, and we'll take care of that. First, we'll simply get the status code and text from the endpoint, and then we'll rewrite to handle the JSON response and print the currency data we need. This was inspired by a question Ladawali posted on the Magic user list. Okay, next, let's have a database example. We'll use the PyODBC library to access the demo data database that ships with Btrieve. We might equally well have connected to other databases such as SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres, NoSQL databases, or even in-memory databases. This will allow all kinds of interoperability and queue and job management with Magic. We can easily argue that everything we do is less code than it would be in Magic. For fun, let's see the column names that are part of the select star from class query that we just executed. All right, next, let's use a web framework called Flask to host and return a simple Hello World web page. Now, Flask is a fully featured web application framework with a rich templating engine called Jinja 2 that is kind of like Magic's HTML merge functionality on steroids. Later, I'll show you how we can leverage frameworks like Flask, Django, and Fast API to enhance Magic web applications. To give a recent example of an application that was written and deployed with Flask at scale, you need to only look at ChatGPT. Okay, finally is another example. Let's create an Excel file. We'll use a library called OpenPyExcel. Now, the beauty of Python is that because the community is so large, any library that thrives must be visible, clear, and well documented. If we look at the documentation for this library, we can see simple examples, and we'll copy and paste one of these to give a demo. Now, of course, we can create Excel files with Magic, but creating Excel files with Python is just so much simpler.